The intruders. Intruders, top to bottom, Syrian Anunnaki, Dracos, Drakon and human hybrid, Zephelium, administrators of Zeta, Zeta Grey Ridgelian, Rutilia, Zeta and Dracos hybrid, or Ebb. The Guardians. The Guardians. Some types of Guardians, top to bottom, Zionite, Ethian, Lyran Syrian Elder, Quiventeloor, TuraneusIam1, Azara, Hybrid Zionite Human, Jonathan, one of the priests of Dralav, Arcturian, Amara Zeta Grey, Ranthunkina. The visitors. In terms of your alien visitors, or extraterrestrials, we are referring specifically to those visitors who approach your reality from within the time portal system. That is, they are not interdimensional so much as they are intertime, emanating from different time coordinates within your three-dimensional interstellar system. So most of your light-form UFOs are indeed extraterrestrial intelligence interacting directly with you. There are 7 cultures, world cultures and their various subcultures within your three-dimensional time portal system who possess the knowledge and technology necessary to interact with Earth in such a way. 2 of these cultures are primarily responsible for all such visitations, light formation, solid mass and crop circle events. The remaining 5 are not involved with your planet or galactic system. Of these 2 world cultures, one group is more advanced than the other in terms of brotherhood. Zeta Reticuli. One group has presently been identified in your culture, and within the inner circles of those who investigate such visitations, this group has become known as the Little Greys or Zeta Reticuli. Others call them the Lizzies, referring specifically to the Rutilia subspecies of Zeta that have a more reptilian-like appearance when manifesting within your system. Though technologically and intellectually astute, the Zeta generally do not possess the spiritual development necessary to forge strong bonds of brotherhood with other life forms. Like humans, the Zeta also are evolving. The Zeta are indeed real, and physical in terms of biological form. They are not from your planetary system, but they have a working knowledge of the time portal system in your dimension. It is the Zeta and affiliated groups, such as the reptilian Dracos, that have been in contact with your government and are responsible for much of what you have come to call the UFO, alien abduction phenomena. Little Greys. The Zeta represent more than just the little greys, those small grayish beings with large black eyes. There are various subspecies of the Zeta prototype, some more hybrid-like in appearance, some resembling other forms not at all organic to your system. There are lizard-like Zeta in numerous coloring sand sizes. There are Zeta that more closely resemble your insect kingdoms, particularly that of the arachnid, spider-like, though somewhat larger than your earthly versions. Other types of Zeta have been described by your witnesses as blues, browns, and silvers, all of which possess some human-like or dwarf-like characteristics, and who represent a group of Zeta mutations created through their experiments in genetic engineering. The blue-skin Zephelium are the administrator caste of the Zeta, governing all lower-ranking Zeta castes. The Zeta are a fragmented species and their customs and policies differ widely among the various groups. Ethian. Often seen appearing with the Zeta, especially with the Greys, Browns, and Blues, are the tall skeletal-like beings that upon closer inspection resemble in structure your earthly praying mantis insect. These beings are usually whitish or golden in color and can stand up to 12 feet tall. These beings are known in some circles as the Ethian. Ethian are not of the Zeta species but often work with them and assist humans in their encounters with the Zeta. They also work with those from other dimensional systems. The Ethian are not organic to your three-dimensional frequency band, nor are they from parallel or adjacent Earths. Rather, they originate from galaxies existing within the dimensions of adjacent Earths, which places them in our interdimensional, extraterrestrial category. Ethian work with humans and other sentient life forms both in your dimension and in others, and throughout the time portal systems in those dimensions. They represent a species superior to that of the Zeta, and come as emissaries of peace and growth toward brotherhood for all species. The Ethian always work as teachers. When they appear with the Zeta or other three-dimensional extraterrestrial groups, the Ethian are with them but not of them. Only Zeta groups who have agreed to work in brotherhood with all life will be accompanied by the Ethian. At this point in your species' evolution, you need to begin to understand how vast is your playing field of three-dimensional reality and what other players are alive within this drama. We are not trying to frighten you with this information, but rather we are hoping to give you the framework of intelligence needed for you to understand your reality and cope with it effectively. The Zeta groups come to you for numerous reasons, some of them to benefit humankind, the more spiritually advanced groups, and others to study you for their own purposes. These are mostly responsible for your reports of negative or harmful alien encounters. Both groups possess technology and operational knowledge of reality systems far superior to that of the human race at this time. They understand multidimensionality to a large degree and are avid users of the time portal systems of the third dimension. Their sciences are built upon this knowledge, and thus there is much humankind could learn from the Zeta. The Zeta possess physically solid three-dimensional vessels, but only the smallest ones have ever approached Earth's atmosphere. However, as they know the mechanics of the time portal system, they are able to place their vessels just outside of the frequency bands that constitute your three-dimensional system. They are able to establish holding patterns between dimensions and thus can become invisible to your system at will. The Zeta also have the ability to use the dimensional lock system to some degree and are able to appear in some of the adjacent dimensions. But the Zeta originate from your three-dimensional system in a different time continuum than your present reality. Though possessing knowledge far superior to your own, the Zeta do not have a full understanding of the dimensional lock system, nor have they mastered the time portal systems of adjacent dimensions. Both humans and the Zeta have much to learn. Ranthia. The second group of extraterrestrial cultures from your three-dimensional system presently working with you are those whom we call Ranthunkina. Some refer to them as the Ranthia. They are from the distant stars in terms of your universe, but he have full mastery over the time portal system. They are responsible, in part, for many of your crop circles. The Ranthia are more advanced technologically and spiritually than are the Zeta, and they have been involved in your Earth culture since its beginnings. They have been your guardians in many ways and have helped protect your species and planet from interference both multidimensionally and galactically. The Ranthia also possess the ability to park between dimensional frequencies so as to appear invisible to your world. Like the Zeta, the Ranthia often appear in your system as light formations, especially those that manifest in spherical form. Unlike the Zeta, however, the Ranthia are not fully matter-based, biologically speaking. They possess the ability to manifest in physical form within numerous dimensions when desired, but they are not confined to a reality with matter densities as strident as your own. They are masters of hologram, as are the Zeta, but the Ranthia have superior abilities in this regard. The physicality of the Ranthia could be compared to what in your system appears as water. That is, their organic form has the properties of fluidity you associate with the element of water. They can take on many forms because of this fluidity of form, yet they are a conscious, sentient, intelligent race of beings. Many of the visitors presently involved with Earth, both interdimensional and those of the time portal system, have the ability to bend the laws of physicality as you know them. Many of them are shape-shifters and can modulate the dimensional frequencies and time portals sufficiently so as to manifest to you in whatever form they desire. The Zeta and Ethian use this ability quite often in dealing with humans, taking on animal forms. Human forms are those of solid objects. Zeta are the least skilled in this area as they lack certain bioenergetic characteristics, the emotional body energies, that are required to fully master the art of transmutation. They can link forms and partially transmute, but to do so causes excessive drain upon their own biological systems. Most often the Zeta will remain physical and use simple frequency modulation tactics to scramble the brainwave patterns of those viewing them. They are there, but they can interfere with the human's bioelectrical system sufficiently enough to make themselves appear invisible, ghost-like, or disguised in other form. We will discuss this perceptual interruption tactic in greater detail within the pages to come. Drakons. The group that created the most disruption within your genetic imprint was a group known as the Drakon. The Drakon originated from a different planetary system in your universe. When they visited your planet during several periods of the first, second and third seedings, they created certain strains of Therone species that could live comfortably within the Earth environment. Combining certain strains of reptilian life present upon your planet, they integrated their own coding into these hybrids. Your dinosaurs were originally vegetarian and quite docile in temperament. Through the Drakon experiments, hybrids were created, carrying the more aggressive tendencies of that race. These were the original prototypes of your carnivorous reptiles. The Drakon used their reptilian hybrids to monitor human development from their home system. About 1 million years ago, when the Drakon had gained enough information through these observations, they began mutating captured humans, seeding the women through rather painful inductions carried out during their frequent visitations. The hybrids that resulted were not what the Drakon had hoped for, as they could not survive within the Earth environment and had to be taken to the Drakon homeplanet. The Drakon human hybrids are known as the Dracos reptilian race. Through experimentation upon these hybrid creatures, the Drakon were able to access some of the Keylonta code particles that held in place the original human frequency fence. They poked holes in the existing fence, having no idea of the potential results of their actions, which began a process of information leakage from the host soul matrices. The human mind and body were not yet mature enough to assimilate these code fragments effectively, and the fragments began to set in motion activation of the stored original soul matrix codes, junk DNA. This created havoc within the developing human biology, as a resurgence of the ghost cellular imprints began. It was during these times that the aforementioned Zionites, time-traveling Zeta-human Ethian hybrid from the future time coordinates, first intervened, in hope of accelerating the biological evolution of the species by creating hybrids among a select group of humans. These humans were chosen randomly throughout the 12 tribes, and were imbued with the silicate matrix from the Zionite code. This allowed them to synthesize, through a course of several generations, the host matrix code patterns that had leaked through the holes in the frequency fence. During this time the humans were taught the technologies needed for them to begin their migration underground, in preparation for the Drakon presence extermination program that was scheduled to take place. About 956,500 years ago, the cycles of the Earth pattern were approaching a time of shift, where the magnetic grid poles would partially reverse. Aware of the problem of the Drakon upon Earth, the Brunau agreed to accelerate this cycle slightly so the Drakon-monitors would be destroyed by the climatic changes that would occur with the magnetic grid shift. For several hundred years prior to the shift, populations of the Earth were moved underground, the humans as well as numerous forms of plant and animal life. Eventually you will find evidence of this historical period. When the pole shifts and resulting weather changes occurred, the Drakon-monitor hybrids were destroyed, and the Drakon could no longer monitor and manipulate the human frequency fence, as they had depended upon their Earth extensions to carry out this manipulation. Through subsequent events, the Dracos race was banned from Earth by Guardian forces, temporarily removing the Drakon problem from the course of human evolution. Through these events, the original plan of human evolution was accelerated as the Zionite crystal gene made its way into the human genetic pool. Your biblical stories of Adam and Eve bore the symbolic coloring of these events, as Eve eating the apple at the seduction of the serpent symbolically represented the Drakon forced interbreeding with the human females, and the resulting opening of the host soul matrix, the symbolic tree of knowledge. It was indeed the opening of this bank of knowledge that birthed into human perception the exaggerated duality that is your lineage. The duality of perception created by the fragments of the original soul matrix memories and the new memory fragments emanating through the leaked Keylanta code fragments from the host matrix families. Two sets of memory imprints directing one body. This is part of the challenge humans of your time face in gaining sovereignty over your genetic heritage. While you remain unaware of the contents and processes within your genetic makeup, you will remain vulnerable to those who once again wish to manipulate you away from the true purposes for which you have come.